So we'll start now with Friday's action. Okay. So we had Friday's action come in for that long because of obviously the gnarly sell and algo death that we had. We made some markups for that, and I said two things here that were major key catalysts for the long, and all you had to wait for was the two to play out. So we had the Fed Williams candle that we had a nice hit on, and we fibbed that out to the upside, right? So the Fed Williams candle was high load. We made that, and it said as long as that GP held, obviously also the 666 from the 15 that we had called that day, it will go up to long break if over, right? So if we get a break up over and hold the 666, we go to the 423.6 there in the gray. And then, of course, 2618 and 1618, which is that 666, right? And we had that 15-minute fib on from Thursday. This is the 15-minute candle and the last one in the grouping that touched a moving average. So we drew this out and we said, all right, this fib from 10:15 a.m. Central is the best of the best. It hits the 100 EMA on the 15-minute chart, and it is the last candle in a triple no-tag GP. 1, 2, 3. The last candle also touches that 100 EMA, like we said, so fantastic fib to use. Anything over the 666 slip and up is the key, and we also said what? The 100 EMA on the daily, just wait for that, go long. Here's the daily chart. Here's the 100 EMA in the green. Okay, not too hard, right? So we had that down, and now we have a potential continuation here on our hands. So just wanted to cover that Thursday, Friday call, and we move into this guy here. So now we pushed all the way back up, and we had a couple different things to go over. We'll leave that SPY chart on. We'll go to the NQ real quick for this trade here. We had a couple nice ones actually this morning. So last night, we'll start there. We jumped on the Discord and we said a couple things and hit our minimums for the gap up. And I was like, yeah, just watch for the gap tag. So this is what I usually like to do for the gaps. Go down to the minute, like always. All right. And we had this pop, right? And this was the opening candle. Obviously a gap right here on the futures last night. I said in the Discord, I said, there's no way this holds. That is ridiculous. Watch for the gap tap. Okay, well, price action, we obviously know where it opened. Right here. Here's the close, right? So this is the gap. So when I say that, I say this gap up right here holds no weight, and everything should be shorted under 24,500, lower high. Okay, we got that one, killed off a nice move, and we fibbed this out to the downside saying watch for the gap tap, right? And 127 also is what we called here, and that's what that looks like. More on that in a couple weeks when the course drops. Now, pointed to the downside, we had the gap tap, right? So I said lower highs and everything under the GP, anything under 24,500, just go short. It's going to push into the gap. Now, that doesn't mean when it's going to close. I said it pushes into the gap, right? And a lot of the times then it bounces. And that's where our two biggest trades after hour usually come from. Well, here's that gap up open, tapped into the gap. So that short that we called from the lower high here, we hit on the cash account with over 60 points. I said 80 to 100 to the downside is what I said from the 50. There's 103. There's your 80. That's where we got that from on the 127. So moving into the dumpster here, which was perfect, right at the opening session. Here, 3 a.m. Central, stocks start to move, right? So we had a little blip down. And what do we do with this? Well, we're on the treadmill time. We're seeing this little area here. And I said, all right, well, we got a sweep coming and we'd have a long to short move, right? So we're consolidating down here, longed up into the sweep, right? So here's that sweep right there. Took out all those 1 minute highs. And then I said, well, now that we swept, we look for one thing and one thing only, and it's a pullback. So you stay short till it's not, right? So it swept the 1 minute highs that we said this morning, came down, hit that 100 EMA, 200 SMA. Look to your left. This was that first breakout attempt as well. So it's a high volume candle. I actually made a little fibby right here just to help me with the eyesight. It's a breakout candle. And if you do notice that it's a triple, right? It's not left open, but it was a triple, right? 1, 2, 3. So this GP on this breakout candle of 5:44 a.m. Central will work out exponentially well for support. So what did we see? The push. We got the sweep. We said wait for the long and go over 24,450 and needs to break up into the weekly zone. And off she went. So that was the trade we discussed in the pre-market here. And now we're back at the dump highs, pulling back, right? So off to SPY here real quick. And this is where we got that move from. So now, last week, what we always like to do is start on that weekly chart, especially we got to be picky on the holiday week, right? Right here. And there's last week's high-low. We always put that in the teal. So we got the high low of last week, right? Or the big week. I keep saying last week. The big week. And then we have the GP that we need to get back up, right? So last week, 100 EMA daily, right? Let's go to the weekly chart so you can actually see what the hell I'm talking about in the fibs. And I'm like, why that looks so weird? There we go. That's not the daily. Perfect. Teal. Okay, now back to the daily where I was supposed to be. After the 100 EMA tag, we had that push back up. Now, remember one thing about the weekly. This is first tag metric because from Monday to Friday, right, that's a whole candle in the weekly. That's what we have charted off here. So these right here, all those ticks that on the daily chart that look like it's a first tag, those aren't first tag metrics, right? Because the whole week candle is developed off last week, and we're looking for a first tag metric because it is Monday. So this is all untagged territory of the GP. If you come back into now the intraday, this is exactly what we had over under was the bottom. And I said, all right, well, we got that sweep. Okay. 5 day, 1 minute. That's why it went crazy. There we go. All right. So we had that wash. Here was that little sweep, right? Pushed all the way back. On the 5 minute chart, it looked great. Has to hold the weekly, has to hold the weekly. This is what we talked about in the Discord. Comes up, sweeps, right? Pulls back. What did it do? 100 EMA, break, 100 EMA, test, right? Good confirmation after a sweep. Higher low off the 10, and she's up. So all she had to do was hold that. Now, this is all first tag metrics for today because it is Monday. So nothing applies to these teal weeklies. So we are going to use our new algo right here. And we're going to use an extra confirmation level, do a little teaching on the 127.2. This is a biased in trend, which again, I'll break down everything in the course for this one. We have lots of stuff coming for this guy. But this fib is going to react here. And if it does push up into that 127.2 area here, I'm actually going to look for the first tag of the 50, so 63317. So I really want to pay attention to live tag here. So I'm going to chart off live first tag because the computers and algo is going to be looking at last week's 50, and that's going to be right here at 66317. I knew the mouse was going to do that every time. All right. So on the 5 minute chart, we are in the process of making an impulse move right here. Triple, right? 1, 2, 3. We're on the last 5 minute right now. We're about 2 minutes into it. So if it gets back up to the 127, this is where you want it to see it kind of fail up here near yesterday's highs, come down to the 50, and that's going to be our watch for over under. Now, of course, we have more targets to the upside than we do the downside. So on this chart, we're going to go redraw that 15 quick because we are going to play from the weekly GP. And this special 15, as we covered, the last 15 that has a no-tag GP, 3 in a row. No, I hit the wrong button. Like that. Oh, wrong green. All right, neon green for our friend into 15. So what do we know about cycle and recycle? Same thing we called for Friday, right? This is how we caught the bottom. This is how we got everything going on. Here's the 15. And again, I know it's a recap, but all the way down is cycle. Holds the 666 like always, our big numerology hitter, into 423, 22, or 361 and 2618. This has already happened on Friday. What do we have left? The best pivot in the world, 1618 on the green. Right? So we are all long biased above the 50 right here and the pre-market open up to the top of the golden pocket. I hope I get this rectangle right. Yeah, right. We got her. So anything above that algo right here, top, anything above the 50, anything above the 2618 that we just drew, which is overlapped with the 50 right here, will end up at 666 on the SPY. And so it's all long bias from here. So we got to get over yesterday's highs, push up to the top of the GP, and we have room for that. There's 31 points available on that. So a ton. Now, how do we get there? Well, now remember, we're creating 5 minute upsides. Don't buy this high and just expect it to squeeze out. We are actually creating, right, a triple 5 minute right here that is going to be a potential pullback. And then if you look at the 1 minute charts and intradays like on NQ, this move will sell. So you have a short scalp coming up right now, according to our systems. And again, we'll come back here, just broke over these highs that we had. This is where the end of the couple minutes will go here. We got less than a minute on a new candle. And here's your zone of impulse no tag GPs. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we will come down right now as a short play, like as in right now, clicking the button, and you'll come down for here or stop out above the next half whole dollar, right? And you got a long way to 24.6. You would drop it down to that 75 and quarter. So when you look at 24,600, it goes 75, 50, whole half dollar, so on and so forth. So I would take the first 3 impulse, chart it, and there you go. Now anything under the 1618 brings you back down to here. So right now is your short entry, and it has an opportunity now in the next couple seconds to create the 5, and you will come down, resulting in a top call pick of 29.85 as called. So this is exactly how we use our triple GP strategy in real time. So this one is a quad. So obviously we have 4 instead of 3. So this is where that red is going to go on time-based trades. So up here, obviously 8:15 now, you got that new candle. We're going to come up. We created a quad, said short the top here. You will slam down into here and a free 30 some points. So we just took that one right to the GP. So again, it does not like impulse moves like this, and this is how we are able to predict the market just with no GP tags. This has everything to do with liquidity, historic support and resistance, and of course with Fibonacci extensions, it just gives you the opportunities for entry exit. So probably a quick trade, hard to catch, but like I said, right now, short it right now, and it will come all the way back down to your GPs and 127. So there you go. Now that was a nice trade, easy money because of that 555. So we're going to see that one play out. And now for the remainder of the day, we're going to get those also on the SPY. We got 1, 2, 3. We're going to come down to here. SPY is going to hopefully move down to that 50, as we have already discussed. Live tag, first tag. So any resistance up here equals short down to the 50 for the morning to look for the continued upside, right? It's the only place. What else gets us there? The last bit of confirmation is the volatility index, right? So on our huge impulse move, it left, you guessed it, a million gaps, million clusters. So if you chart off all these gaps right here, or cheat the system, duplicate them all. You will see all of these crazy, crazy markers in the clusters, right? So all these clusters are a bunch of candles with no golden pocket, implying tons of volatility, tons of sweep, tons of speed, and the VIX, all it has to do is go under yesterday's lows. What's the one problem with this beautiful short leaking VIX? The 100 EMA. Now, can we shy it for whole days? Of course. But is today the one? We'll see. It's all about confirmation. So right now, the 100 EMA will be a point of interest for us. If the VIX happens to rally up, we get the drop out of the gate. That maybe gives VIX the attempt to go to the 100, because I am short biased right now, shorting the quad pop. Right now, big cash entry 570 and some change, and we will come all the way down to our first target 50. That'll be an easy 25 free points, and then we'll see what it wants to do for that. So the VIX does have an opportunity to get the 100 EMA. Does it have to? Nope. It can leak out. So we're going to use a half whole dollar there. We got 22.50 and yesterday's lows on the blue dash line to help us with direction. So if it does get back over there, maybe she goes for the 100. We got to watch for that confirmation. That's our job. Then if it breaks that yesterday's lows and continues, we will also watch for that. So a huge catalyst there for the VIX on clusters in gaps on the low side. And that is that. So we will pick the short entry right into the 127. We will come down right here, and then we will look for an over under at that 50. I will play long first more often than shorts in this scenario. That is it.